Happy Friday, and welcome to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, and again, Husker Online Headlines brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. StayHome.Care offers many of the same types of personalized care you might find in a nursing home, right in the comfort of your home, whether your loved one is young or old, living with a disability, recovering from a surgery, or simply needs extra help when they are sick. StayHome.Care provides consistent, compassionate support from personal care and companionship to daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, and assistance with appointments or outings. We are here when your loved ones need you and you can't be there. So give them a call again at 402-205-2233. That's StayHome.Care at 402-205-2233. Happy Friday, Sip.
Happy Friday to you, Sean.
We just enjoyed some really good Hawaiian barbecue.
It's say the name of the
How's it? Not a sponsor, but we promote a good local business.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, I live
Sean
right
bought
by
me
there.
lunch. It's good.
And I'll tell you, Dominic Rhule recommended. He said this place is like a place you'd find in Hawaii.
It's very tasty.
It was very
tasteful.
We got some spicy, not too spicy, but it was seasoned chicken.
That's what I'm eating. Seasoned chicken, seasoned Hawaiian chicken.
Yep, with rice and I think macaroni salad.
Yeah, it's mac salad for sure.
But it was a legit.
I'm still eating mine. Did you eat all yours?
I'm working on it still.
Yeah, you were horsing it. A lot going on in the world. I see on 3 top 10 headlines. There's one I will be certain to read. Shiloh Sanders compares himself to Donald Trump. Tell me that won't get some clicks.
Oh, that's just like click. Okay, let's get into the show here before we lose half the audience. We might have.
There was nothing political about that. That statement. I just am interested to read that. Yes.
We will headline number 1. We will get an update from Matt Rhule on Saturday. Mm-hmm. What are the biggest things we might learn? Matt Rhule will conduct his first press conference with local media since the end of the Pinstripe Bowl.
Mm-hmm. So you're a reporter. I'm a reporter. There's going to be things we want to delve into. I think that how I structure my questions right now, I don't know. But I know this. There's a lot I want to know about winter conditioning and that period entering spring ball, which is not till March 26th, by the way. But how are you assimilating those transfer portal players, for instance? Deshaun McCullough comes to mind because he was in the dunk contest.
How did he look?
Well, he did a reverse two-handed dunk, which is pretty good, right? Yeah, he looks like a guy that would be steaming off the edge in Big Ten games, that kind of guy. So how do you assimilate those guys? Sean, there's a new college football world that me and you are still trying to understand. Do those guys start working first team reps? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Well, and you're going to have fewer numbers of players. So I think doing reps won't be as complicated as before, as rosters size down. But yeah, I want to.
What else? What are you wondering?
Special teams, like where's that at?
With the coordinator?
I do believe they're talking to some people this weekend still. So it's not done, as we know. And they've done a really good job of keeping a lid on this. I believe Matt Rhule himself has kept a pretty tight lid on this information. Maybe Phil Snow is involved, but I can't imagine there's a lot of people involved because not much information's gotten out.
Well, and it's a special teams coordinator. It's not particularly, you're not
a non-recruiter.
Yeah. And it's not like a high profile coordinator that's coming in, an offensive coordinator or something like that. So it shouldn't be hard to keep it under wraps. What else are you wondering?
Just the schedule of what things are going to look like for this team. And you mentioned, we're basically 2 months still from spring practice.
Right.
It's a long, they got a long way to go till we get spring ball going.
It's just a good chance to, like you said, he hasn't talked. There's something interesting to me about this whole conversation. I talked to a fellow media member yesterday, and he remarked that, Rhule hasn't even met with us. Well, the last time we met with the media was after the bowl winning, the Pinstripe Bowl. And my thought was, don't take this wrong, but why does he need to?
No, I don't disagree. And I will say though, the Pinstripe Bowl post game, that's a hard It's one of those ones where you raise your hand, you have to get the mic, and you're like, Steve Sipple, Husker Online.
Right.
And and you and I are on the same page. Like, we don't really like those kinds of, we're not trying to like draw attention to ourselves and ask those. I prefer more of an intimate setting
like this,
where you can actually talk and get a flow of questions going and things where, so we actually really haven't had that in a while.
No, and I'm glad. No, don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's doing it. And I'm glad I think Matt feels kind of compelled to do it. And I think I don't think he has the media in mind as much as the fans.
This will be it probably till March though.
Maybe. Is there a possibility he would do one before spring practice begins?
Yeah.
By the way, March 26th is the beginning of spring practice.
So I would venture to guess like maybe that week, because the week before that is spring break and everybody will be gone.
I think that Matt, just what he has said in the past suggests that he almost likes to do it monthly, right? Just if a month goes by and he hasn't spoken to the masses, I just think he feels sort of compelled.
No, and there's a lot of loose ends and things you always need.
Well, yeah. What do you want to know about injuries? That's
like Henry Latosky
right
and Gunnar Gatula. I mean, we assume they're out for the spring. But what about Turner Corcoran and Teddy Prohaska? Are they available for the spring or out? I mean,
okay, wait a second. Stop there. Are Gunnar Gatula, is Prohaska and Turner Corcoran, are they involved in winter conditioning? That'd be a question. Are they going?
Well, if they had surgeries, they wouldn't be involved.
They're still not. They're not working out.
How do you? I mean, if you have shoulder type stuff done,
when was it?
Well, right after. I mean, the shoulders are like 6-month type things.
I'm talking about Turner Corcoran.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm talking about Corcoran.
I thought you were talking about.
No, I'm talking about Corcoran and Prohaska.
And sometimes with the knee, it can be more like 9+ months. So you just don't really know.
Well, that's exactly what I want to know. Are Corcoran and Prohaska? I don't want to come out of there going, you just don't really know. I want to know.
Well, and what about why no spring game?
Right.
I mean, that's going to be an immediate question addressed. What is your plans? I mean, is this something you see everybody going? I think everyone's going this way, by the way. And the big loser will be Big Ten Network. If no one's doing a spring game, they won't have that content to air.
Yeah, they're missing some content. No, we know from earlier this week, Troy Dannen on his statewide radio show. I characterize it as taking the bullet for Matt. I mean, Dannen laid out. I'm not calling it a spring game anymore. Troy Dannen, the AD, said that. And I thought that was good for Matt. Matt didn't have to kind of be the bearer of that news, whether you regard it as bad or good or indifferent. It is sort of a tough subject for a fan base that grew used to a spring game. But Dannen laid out, we're not going to have a spring game, but he said Matt Rhule will determine how we're going to do it. Now, I don't expect Matt Rhule to lay out what's going to happen on April 26th, which is when the spring game,
because that's pretty fluid.
Yeah, it's fluid, and it'll take some ingenuity and some creativity to produce something that people are interested in and like. So I don't know. You don't want to overthink it either.
Well, and we're still a couple years away from this, but Memorial Stadium won't even be available for at least one spring game.
Isn't that something?
And
what year do you anticipate that being the case?
Well, they're going to play 25 and 26 at home for sure. So I would imagine like 27 or 28, like one of those
the spring of 27.
Because Dannen has been on record saying that 2026 is big because he wants to have a full stadium available for when Tennessee comes.
Tennessee comes to Lincoln,
and that, like, he doesn't want that to be a reduced capacity.
That game makes me excited, and it's not this season. It's in
Dylan Raiola's junior year.
Yeah, when Tennessee comes to town, it'll be a big. That'll be fun.
Josh Heupel, he never played in Lincoln.
No, Josh never did.
He played
quarterback.
Nebraska played him in Norman when he.
I know, I got you. So, what else are you interested in?
I mean, obviously the way the coaching staff came together and
Yes.
the hires he made and the transfers they added and managing the money, because it's his money now. It's their money, Nebraska's money. The rev share dollars come in technically July 1. And Pete Nakos had a really good article this week that, we're closing in now on $30 million rosters. Most people think it's going to be in the teens for majority of teams. Like you're going to get 20 and a half.
Yep.
And football will get about 15 of that.
Okay.
Give or take.
Okay.
If you're a fully funded operation, then you have your collective on top of that. And the Texases and the Oregons, those types of places are probably going to push 30 pretty quickly here.
So explain to me, what are you talking about? You'll get 15 million out of your rev share pot plus 15 million from your NIL pot.
Yeah, plus 15 million from Phil Knight.
Right. So that's what I think you have to explain this to people. There'll be the rev share pot of money, 15 million,
which is limited, but
but you still have the fully functioning NIL collectives. Those aren't going away at most places.
Or if you told Phil Knight, hey, we need 15 more million to continue to buy the best players, he's like, yeah, that's a couple pairs of shoelaces for me.
Right. So it's $30 million rosters. And in this conversation, Haven Fields is important. Sean Padden's important. Those guys.
And Matt Rhule.
Well, of course, yeah. The head coach is very important. But Padden kind of acts as the general manager, right? And Haven Fields approves, we'll call them transactions.
Yeah, when you're expending university dollars, there has to be university oversight on that. Where
100%.
In the collective world, I mean, meetings might have happened in a hotel lobby.
Right. And it was
pretty looser.
Looser because remember the initial, I love these conversations because it illustrates how kind of strange it became and it still is. Remember the initial conversations where you would say to me, Sip, the head coach can't be involved. The head, when there was a big player on campus or we started talking about money, well, the head coach can't be involved. And then slowly it became very apparent that the coaches are involved. It became so apparent that Matt Rhule would talk about being involved. Do you remember initially though? Like, hey, coaches aren't involved. They can't be involved. Well, it got changed, right?
I chuckle like the very first kind of operating cycle of NIL and recruiting, the portal. On our weekly Red Sea Scroll subscriber chat, I said, yeah, I look for Nebraska's collective at that time, ABM, to play a big part in helping what Nebraska is able to get accomplished in the transfer portal. And I received an email from a former member of the Nebraska Compliance Department who's no longer here, like questioning me, like, are you insinuating that Nebraska is going to use NIL as an inducement to get athletes here? And I'm like, and you think about that now, it's just funnier than hell.
It's strange. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Why are you? I mean, like,
because they were
trying to justify their jobs at that point, what they do.
And, a little, or if you just try to look at it in a positive light, Sean, he was just operating by the letter of the law, which and at that time there was a lot of unknowns about it. Everybody was kind of tiptoeing through the tulips and walking on eggshells. And now, see, I think people at that point, and I think you're talking about the summer of 2021, right?
And at that point, I mean,
the summer of 2021,
they really didn't want Frost to be able to get. I mean, they didn't want this to be helping Frost at that point because they had just had the 3-9.
Yeah, I know.
And Treb, they wanted to make a move on
it. I'm not talking about as politically as much as you are. I'm just talking about the machine was in place, but nobody quite understood how it was all going to work. And they didn't want to break rules, so they're always walking on eggshells. And then at some point, people just decide we're just going to stamp all over eggshells. It doesn't.
Well, they created the service contract model,
that
everybody now uses everywhere. I mean, that's NIL everywhere. But Nebraska they were so ahead of that at that point when they created that model, where there was no stopping it. Like it was a legalized way to basically pay for play.
But nobody, do you understand what I'm saying? Nobody wanted to acknowledge that it was pay for play. In fact, people would go to great lengths at universities to say this isn't pay for play. And me and you would chuckle. Oh, it's not. But they were still trying to sell that. This is not pay for play. This is name, image, and likeness. And it's not. That's not what this is. Yeah, no, it is pay for play.
You think about like O'Shawn Mathis and Trey Palmer and some of the guys they got early.
Right.
They weren't cheap players to bring in here.
No. The quarterback, Casey Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. Those were not cheap acquisitions, but those, we didn't look at them as much like acquisitions as we do now, because we weren't having the conversation, Sean, as much. Oh, O'Shawn Mathis is getting this
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
They beat Texas for him.
Yeah.
They outbid Texas in that model back then.
But you were sort of instructed, don't talk about that. Now you talk about it.
Oh yeah. Now it's,
you remember there's player X where Nebraska's representatives went and met with them in Tennessee, right? But we were like, no, you can't write. We can't.
Not a coach, but somebody with the collect. I mean, we
can't report that. Now we just openly report that Rocco Spindler's going from school to school, and you openly say, well, he's trying to drive up his market. Do you see how much the conversation's changed since June of 2021? It's remarkable.
I mean, and it's funny to think that people thought NIL was going to just be like fun little car wash commercials.
Right. That's what we thought.
And burrito deals.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. He's got a little deal with the burrito company and a car wash. And they'll get some nice pizza money out of all this.
So that's not what it did. Yeah, it quickly became something very, very different than
all
that.
Right. Well, before we take it to headline number 2, again, we're brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Learn more about all the services they offer by giving them a call at 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart in everything we do. Your home, our care, StayHome.Care. Okay, and then we're also brought to you by HelloFresh. It's that time of year. Look, you want to eat right. You want to do it right. You don't want to go out to eat and eat a bunch of junk. HelloFresh is your answer. They make it so easy. They send everything right to you. You've got about 50 different hassle-free meals per month. You can decide what you want: protein-based, low-calorie, quick and easy meals, spicy, vegetarian, you name it. They've got the combo. And you say, hey, I want 2 meals a week for 2 people. I want 4 meals a week for 4 people. Whatever the combination they have it that will fit your need. And we typically would do the 2 meals a week because that was the right number for our family. Like, hey, there's going to be 2 nights or home that we want to cook. And everyone's tired of the spaghetti taco, like same meal that you make every time you cook at home. This gets you out of that hole.
Spaghetti's always good.
I know, but like when you're just like in a pinch,
oh yeah,
you make about 3 things:
right.
Spaghetti, taco, maybe macaroni and cheese.
What's Carly like the most?
Oh,
what's Carly's go-to?
Gosh, Carly's my youngest one.
Is she a finicky eater?
I mean, she likes McDonald's.
She likes McDonald's.
Because the Happy Meal is one of the few things that has withstood the test of time.
McDonald's has withstood the test of time. It has.
I mean, she begged and begged for a Happy Meal, and I caved in and gave her one this week.
That is incredible. McDonald's was pretty far along when I was Carly's age. 8, whatever she was. What's Carly now?
8,
nailed it.
But
when I was 8, McDonald's was very popular.
It still is, I guess. But all right, back to HelloFresh. Anyway, with HelloFresh, we're going to give you 10 free meals and a high protein item for life. All you got to do is go to HelloFresh.com, use the code HelloFresh.com/Husker10FM. That's Husker10FM after HelloFresh. And that Husker10FM stands for free meals at the end. So if you order from there, we'll give you 10 free meals with the high protein item for the life of your orders with HelloFresh. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. Okay, headline number 2, Nebraska is on the verge of hosting a massive recruiting weekend here, Mr. Sipple.
Yes.
And over 20 visitors. Quarterback Dayton Rhule will be one of the many in town. I'm pulling up the actual list I have here right now just to give you a more seasoned report here. But it is an elite junior day event. All the athletes that are here will have offers from Nebraska. Juju Marks is going to be here too because I don't believe he ever took his official visit. So there is at least one 2025 recruit. But Dayton Rhule, headlines that list. Running back Noah Roberts, running back Jeremiah Stonewell, wide receiver.
Those guys are 2027, right?
No, these are 26s.
A second.
They're 27. You're
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry. They're 27s.
Right.
You're going to have Ryan Mosley, a 2026, Jabari Brady, another wide receiver for 2026, a number of big name guys. And these are the priority players. In terms of local names, Jace Reynolds, a linebacker from Elkhorn North, Kaysen Thomas, a linebacker from Sioux City Heelan, one of the top players in Iowa. You'll have Matt Erickson there, a 2027 out of Millard West.
Tackle.
Mike Erickson's son.
He's a 6'7" tackle. He's a 2027. That's a big one. The big ones to me, though, I'm looking at bigs, Sean. The bigs. Is Kelvin Obot coming still?
Yes, Calvin Obot.
Greg Patrick.
So the offensive linemen that we have down coming, besides Juju Marks, a number are coming. Rex Waterman is coming this weekend for Nebraska, 6'5", 240. Greg Patrick, who is related to Chris Patrick.
Oh, God, really? The former Husker. Yes.
I don't think it's Chris's kid.
No, I don't think
I think
so.
it's a relative of Chris's. But 6'4", big offensive lineman, 275 out of Michigan. Matt Erickson, Kelvin Obot, a big lineman out of Idaho, number one player in Idaho.
4-star.
Claude Mampuma from Mount Carmel, Illinois, another 4-star lineman. And then on the D line, you'll have Vladin Sony, a 2026 D lineman, 6'5", 250. Mikhail Blade, another defensive end edge player, 6'5", 230 out of Illinois. You're going to have a number of players here this weekend. What jumps out to me is you don't have a lot, and we don't have our full list updated. Brian's going to put that up. We don't put it up because what ends up happening is we'll put it up and these other YouTube and people like almost hijack our reporting.
So you're waiting.
So we wait till
when are you going to put it up?
Brian's going to have his preview going up here shortly, and Steve Wilfong's put one up already too. But we sometimes don't always update it immediately because what happens is the second we update it, there are several of these YouTube accounts and Twitter handles that the visitor list is not premium.
Hijack it. So
I think we're actually going to go to making it premium because it is a subscriber perk to get these visit names and information on the site. But yeah,
okay, so go back to what you started to say. What jumps out at you about this group?
Not a lot of local names.
No.
3 total, from 2 from Nebraska
mm-hmm.
and 1 from Iowa.
From Sioux City.
And it just makes you wonder. Because let's just call a spade a spade. Nebraska's had bad luck with local players in this program the last 2 years.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Well, let's go through all the names of the players that have left.
But yeah, I get
a lot have left.
Right.
And they invested a lot of time and resources in local skill players and local other players. And Malachi Coleman, gone. Devon Hall, gone. Isaiah McMorris, gone. Yep. Daniel Kalen, gone.
Yep.
I mean, you go down the line of local skill players that have come in this program, they have not had a lot pan out. And you're not going to win in the Big Ten if you miss in those spots.
Yeah, then you got to rely on the transfer portal. The thing that jumps out to me are those big offensive tackles that you went through. They're bringing 3 4-star offensive tackles, a minimum of 4. Also, the edge rusher. You always look at Sean. I always look at the bigs first and the edge rushers. So Mikhail Blade, you touched on Mikhail Blade. That's a big-time player coming in. Nebraska's competing for him with a long list of teams, including Michigan and Notre Dame. But those are the kind of battles Nebraska needs to win. Not all of them. You don't got to get – I'm not saying it's Mikhail Blade or bust, but those are the kind of guys you have to start to get more of because you have to reverse this trend of Nebraska being – very light in the draft.
Yeah, because and develop them in your program where if you have to go find that version of the player in the portal down the road, it costs you about triple.
Okay, then I got you. Then the question I have for you, Sean, Nebraska has 3 verbal commitments for the class of 2026, right? 3. After this weekend, do you need to have a few more?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I think it will all take care of itself. Like they can they can push this thing now however they want with the money involved, because there's only so many spots for all these kids everywhere.
How many spots are there, do you think, in this class?
I still think you're looking at 20.
20, okay.
I mean, I think that's a safe bet, that you're going to always be around 20 every year. But again, you need some more attrition, and I would like to see what the distribution numbers look like in August, with the 105 and what that's going to be at, because we're at 132 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll see kind of where it comes into coming August. And then Rocco Spindler, you mentioned him, the transfer from Notre Dame. We've talked about him all week on our shows. He chose to take a visit to Pitt, and he could end up visiting Michigan still. So that one is still in play. But, driving the market up, looking around. So that's a transfer addition that Nebraska could still try to bring in.
What it appears that he wants to make a decision by Sunday or by Monday.
Yeah, ideally.
So we could have news on that on Sunday.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And we'll see kind of where it goes. And he has not done it. He's got an agent, and people, he's a grown man, older player. So he's not giving interviews. I mean, he's got an agency that kind of speaks on his behalf.
Back to the visit weekend. So how many in total will be here?
I believe the number is around 22.
Huge weekend then.
All offers.
All hands on deck here,
and
right?
So yeah, there's a big weekend. And then from here, we roll into the dead period. So there is a signing day Wednesday, the signing day we all grew up with, but there won't be anybody new signing on that day that we know of.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of why Matt Rhule is going to talk Saturday, because I think he is going to be out of town for something next week. So that must be why we're doing this Saturday and not Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday next week.
Oh, because he might be taking some time off. Maybe.
Time off. And I mean, maybe there's some booster fundraising NIL things too. Because usually that's kind of when you do that stuff too.
Yeah. So he'll be talking to us Saturday morning, 10
a.m.
on the cusp of a huge visit weekend.
They always tee that up for the Sunday columnist, don't they?
Well, I'm glad they did. Also a Tuesday columnist. So it might kill two.
You're going 2 for 1, baby. 2 for 1.
Yeah, I am. But you need to do that, and it's
heck yeah.
It's great. It's great reading for this time of year.
Okay, before we go to headline number 3, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by Public Rec. If you're not familiar with Public Rec, they have really, really comfortable men's leisure wear, pants, shorts, polos, t-shirts, athletic wear, you name it. They've got it. They've got the right fits, the right clothes that will make you feel comfortable going to work, just running errands on the weekend. Check out their website at Public Rec. As you can see, all the different types of styles they offer, all the different colors. It's simple. It's high quality. Public Rec is the website, and we're going to give you 20% off at publicrec.com with the promo code Husker. Use promo code Husker at publicrec.com, and we will give you 20% off that order at Public Rec. Thanks again to Public Rec for sponsoring us here on the HuskerOnline show. And again, we're also brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Give them a call at 402-205-2233 to learn more about their services and everything they can offer you. Thanks to StayHome.Care. Okay, headline number 3. Nebraska and Troy Dannen could not have handled this week any better from all levels. I mean, you talk about the way the John Cook story came out later in the week here, but there was no leaks. And you and I both have been around enough of these. All it takes is one person to break something like that. And that tells you how much respect everybody has for John Cook, that nobody said a word. And he got to the feeling of that news breaking on his own.
Yeah, I think it indicates some respect for John Cook. I think it also indicates some respect for the boss, Troy Dannen. And it does give you a picture of Dannen that's very, very positive. I mean, I like the picture of an AD who runs a tight ship. And there's not a bunch of leaks. There's not a bunch of people gabbing behind the scenes. I know you would say maybe, no, we benefit from people gabbing behind the scenes. We kind of do, but I like the picture better of a tight ship, and that's what it indicated.
I would have hated to have been in that position to have it leak and we knew, and then have to make that decision. Do we break this before they announce it?
Right, because what you're talking about is
integrity.
Integrity. integrity is an important word, but I would think of the players. The players got to find out from our Twitter account. I mean, that's how you want this to go down? This incredibly massive news of John Cook, the 68-year-old icon. He's going to retire, and we're just going to say, according to sources, and that's how Harper Murray's going to find out about John Cook. That's sort of a bad.
It's kind of like winning an argument with your wife. You actually really lose. Like, you may have won the argument,
right,
but
it doesn't feel like a win.
You're in trouble for a long time. And like, that would have been a story if somebody would have done this. Yeah, you would have. I mean, I don't know if anybody would have been throwing parades that, oh yeah,
I don't think so.
You disrespected the play. I mean,
right.
But then there are true journalists,
right,
that would be like, that is our duty and our job.
Yeah, it is too. It's a tricky one. I also thought, Sean, underrated in Detroit. I know we're doing this thing where we're showering praise on Troy Dannen, but I was really. This is a smaller thing, but it was important to me. Did you notice? Okay, so John Cook had his farewell press conference, and it was a big deal. There's a zillion media there, and this was on Thursday morning. And Dan and Troy, of course, he introduced him. He kind of started off the ceremony, and he handled it perfectly. And it was Troy Dannen was at the podium for 2 minutes. That's it.
As it should be.
Right. He didn't make it about himself at all. In fact, during that 2 minutes, I think if you looked on it, he personally thanked John 2 or 3 times. So it was all about John. It wasn't about Troy Dannen,
Yeah, you didn't
need
to tote a bunch of people up there to talk before and we've been to press conferences like that where 3 or 4 people speak before the actual person we're there for speaks.
Yeah. But it was just Troy. He was actually talking to John basically from the podium. So I think Dannen had a good week. And I think I was watching Dannen during the basketball game during the Nebraska's win against Illinois, which we'll get to in a second. I mean, he's got a tough job. I'm sure he was watching that game pretty close, watching the head coach. I mean, how's that team responding? Dannen's interesting because he sits right down by the bench. He sees it. It's right in front of the boss, what's going on. So, and the boss has got to assess. He's got to assess these sports all the time.
So they're 3. Yeah, and we'll get into basketball.
We'll get into hoops. Yeah,
we'll delve into the discussion on that. But even the way Nebraska handled the spring game announcement, I mean, that there was
100.
no easy way,
right,
to say that. But he was able to get that out. And hey, how about naming the radio booth after Greg Sharp this week?
Oh, good point.
I mean,
I forgot about that.
What a nice touch and the right thing to do. And our prayers are with Greg as he continues his battle, and he's gearing up. In a few weeks, his daughter will get married, Emily. So he's got the big wedding for his daughter coming up, and Greg is fighting and he's fought all year, and that was the right thing to do for Nebraska to name the radio booth.
They did it quietly. They didn't make it a media event.
They didn't even send out a press. They just sent out a video, but
tasteful.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really.
Hey, this is interesting. This is a good column. It was a good week for Dannen. That's a great call. That was a great call.
And they covered it up by they do the employee of the month, and they said that Greg, because he's an employee there, so because of the way the radio network is, he was the employee of the month, and then they all recognized him, and then brought him upstairs, and then that's how they showed him the booth.
Greg Sharp is not, when we do this praise of Greg Sharp, it is the most genuine praise. Like, he would not invite this. I mean, Greg.
I don't think he wanted to be shown on the screen all year, and they figured out a way to do it on his birthday.
Greg does not make it. He's an example of a journalist that doesn't make it about himself at all. You know what I mean? He does not do that at all. He's a play-by-play guy. That's what he is. This isn't about Greg Sharp. That, and I think that's why people respect him so much. One of the reasons.
Yeah, he's got a remarkable family too. I mean,
and you've dealt with him a lot. He's extremely professional. Even in a non-professional setting, he's very. I don't know. He's just a very stand-up individual.
We meet his family. His wife is a former big-time news anchor and still does a lot of on-air presenting stuff. I know she was just in Kansas City for something big where she was the host. And then he's got another daughter who's a Disney princess.
Really?
that was living in China or overseas at a Disney or an overseas Disney World where she's an actual Disney. Then he's got another daughter that's getting married, and then one's still in high school. So he's got a remarkable support system, and they were all there, I believe, other than the Disney princess daughter who's out of state. But yeah, that was really a nice thing to do for Greg. Well deserved. He's called more Nebraska football games than Kent Pavelka did.
Okay.
I mean, when you put in like the length, obviously Bremser, I believe, did the job for like 40 years.
I don't know about that. You'll have to look that up. I be careful with that.
Well, no, I work at KFAB.
Fact check.
He was the announcer from the 40s to the 80s.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I'm almost positive. He was at KFAB for a long time.
40 years. Okay.
There was also multiple affiliates back then.
Right. Okay.
But he was the KFAB announcer from like the 40s to the 80s.
But not necessarily the voice of the Huskers.
Oh, he was the voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Bremser for 40 years.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Okay.
And then Pavelka and Saddlemeyer came in and with him. And then when he retired, Pavelka took over.
Are you as sure about this as you are about Fedoni getting drafted?
Well, Fedoni's having a hell of a week.
Is he?
Yeah. He's having a heck of a week.
You can say hell.
Yeah. Lyle Bremser did 42 seasons.
He did 42 seasons of the
play-by-play
of the Husker football play-by-play?
42.
I would have guessed half that.
42 to 83.
Wow. That's remarkable. Because he must have started very young, right?
What's scary is by the time we're done with our career, it's going to be more than that, probably.
Let's not talk about that one.
You're pushing 42 seasons. Like, God, for the young listeners, like, man, that Steve said he's like a Lyle Bremser.
I'm really not. I'm in like the 30 range right now.
Lyle Bremser, though, like you never actually saw him off cuff. Like this dude kind of like, it was always like the like he didn't do a lot. He felt like
there was no YouTube.
Well, he's just very private. He didn't do a lot of like things about himself.
It was easier to do. It was easier to be that way back then, right? That was a much more appealing time.
It was like Johnny Carson. For as big as he was, like off the air, you never saw Johnny Carson.
Right.
It was a different era of
a better time.
That's how you are, though.
Yeah, I try to be as much as I can.
When you go to Planet Fitness, like you almost got to do a show there now.
No, I would say that the people of Planet Fitness are very kind and they let you be. Yes.
But yeah, what a week. And then obviously Danny Busboom. The way that was done. And then they were able to.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if this was planned, but time out the basketball game to have John Cook and Danny Busboom go out on the court.
Uh-huh.
And then Danny went back to Louisville, and then she'll be back here next week.
Yeah, if you're a Nebraska fan, you came out of Thursday feeling pretty good about a lot of things. The way all of that went down with John Cook and Danny Busboom, right up to the point where they're introduced on the court during the game. The fact that Nebraska won, Zach Taylor's courtside, very low key.
Yeah, Zach Taylor was like buried in the notebook. It wasn't even. It was like the quick hits in the notebook. It wasn't even like
one line in the notebook.
It wasn't even the note. The Indianapolis or Cincinnati Bengals head coach, the last offensive player at Nebraska to win Big 12 Player of the Year, Conference Player of the Year on offense, and to my knowledge, I don't think he was recognized. Now they showed him on. I believe they showed him on Fox on FS1
on the telecast,
but I don't think they showed him. Like according to Robin, they didn't show him. I didn't get to go to the game.
I went to the game. If he was shown on the big screen or acknowledged in any way, I simply missed it. So I don't think he was. I trust Robin's word on that one. I don't think he was. He kept a very low profile. He was seated at courtside.
His little boys are really into it. They watch all the games, is my understanding.
Zach, yeah, they were seated right on the opposite side of Nebraska's bench. So Nebraska's players were facing him.
He was with David Graff, the CEO of Huddle, or the head of Huddle. And
Zach's style is to stay low profile, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not some there's head coaches would treat that situation. Some would treat it differently than others. Zach would always trend toward low profile.
I would say in a lot of cases, majority of NFL coaches probably can live a lower profile life than a college coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I couldn't even tell you like who some of the coaches are in the NFL. Like on some of the lower franchises, because
I can't either. So I'm not. It's kind of funny that we can't do that, but
Yeah, you're right. Like
Like-
I can't name the Carolina Panthers head coach.
Or like the Redskins guy. Like he's a good
Can you
coach.
name it? Am I wrong? Am it Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Like
I don't know who it is.
the new Jacksonville guy, did you see him this week? And
Yeah, his name is Liam Cohen, I think.
he kept doing the Duval.
Yeah.
Like that thing went viral.
I know it was weird. He was the OC at Tampa Bay. I know that. But now, yeah, Zach was there. There he was, seated courtside.
All right, let's go to headline 4. Before we do that, again, Husker Headlines brought to you by StayHome.Care. They offer many of the same types of personalized care you might find in a nursing home, right in the comfort of your home. Whether your loved one is young, old, or living with a disability, recovering from a surgery, or simply needs extra help when they are sick, StayHome.Care provides consistent, compassionate support from personal care and companionship to daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, and assistance with appointments or outings. They're there for your loved ones, and they're there for what they need. Call them at 402-205-2233. That's 402-205-2233. Thank you to StayHome.Care for being our title sponsor. But let's get into it. Nebraska basketball gets a much-needed win against Illinois. And, you know, they were fortunate. I'll say that because Illinois had a lot of looks. They were getting a lot of offensive rebounds, but they turned it over like 20 times.
17.
I mean, it was
17.
So the defense showed back up.
They did.
But there were still spurts where Nebraska struggled. I texted you one time during the game, and the lineup Nebraska had on the court, you know, they didn't have a score out there.
Very interesting that you raised that because I didn't receive that text because sometimes you don't receive text there.
Yeah, it was like
no, you didn't. I didn't get it.
It was when Jacobson, Wooster, Hoiberg. It was like a group of guys that weren't scorers.
Jacobson, Raleigh,
Hoiberg.
Sam. Do you remember the other two? There had to be a score out there somewhere.
Andrew Morgan, maybe.
Ooh.
There was no Gary or Bryce Williams.
It's an interesting 4.
And I don't believe a Sejan was. I mean, it was like a little spurt where I was like, man, how are they going to score? And
yeah, so here's the deal. You're the boss. You're going to be disappointed. I didn't bring the box score, so I don't have the box score in front of me. But I know Illinois. Let's just stick with Illinois for a second. They're without one of their better players who had mono. They played terrible. I just thought, okay, they had 7 assists and 17 turnovers.
That had to be their worst game of the year.
Yeah, no. They lost by 21 to Maryland at home. Okay.
Oh,
they lost it. They've been very up and down. They're young. They have a Lithuanian point guard who's going to be a first-round draft pick. Kasparis, can't say his last name. You don't want to try to pronounce it. Kasparis.
That's their like high 5-star guy they brought in, right?
Big time dude. I mean, he's a one and doneer.
Yeah, that Euro step move he made, like some of the plays he made were impressive.
They're a team of good talent, but it hasn't come together that well. No, they're 6-5 in a Big Ten. It hasn't been a disaster. They were ranked 18th. It's a good win for Nebraska. But I want to emphasize, Illinois, 7 assists, 17 turnovers. That's a nightmare for a head coach. Borderline nightmare. They were 10 for 42 from deep. 10 for 42. Shot terrible. Played terrible. And I will tell you this, watching their head coach,
Brad Underwood
on the sideline, it was he had a hard night. He was bent. He was doubled over a couple times, just looking at the ground like, what are we doing? They did.
There were a couple times where they threw passes to nobody.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Strangely, though, okay, they never led. They tied it, though, at 70. And then, of course, in regulation, although they never led, they had a chance to win the game in regulation. Will Riley missed a corner 3, rimmed out. Would have been a horrifying situation if Illinois never led until
the last shot.
And
Nebraska would have fallen to 2-8.
Right, with a 7th straight loss. Ball rims out, overtime comes, and then Bryce Williams takes charge. The game is 72-72, and he scores 8 straight points. He gets 2 jumpers wrapped around a drive to the basket, then makes 2 free throws, 80-72. Nebraska's got the win.
I thought Fred was really good off the timeouts and the inbound.
Oh, he was extraordinary.
I mean, I feel like they stole 10 or 12 points.
Yeah.
Easy points.
Yeah.
On the grease board.
Oh, I thought, yeah. Fred, I've always said about Fred, any coach will tell you he'll be as prepared. He'll be extremely well prepared, especially offensively. But yeah, they were.
Like
and I'll tell you something about Fred.
he was coaching his you-know-what off.
They got wide open dunks off inbounds plays.
They did.
I mean, it was like
Gary did, yeah.
And that doesn't happen in a Big Ten game. And
boy, that was another example of Illinois. It was just a bad night for Underwood. Like he was getting schooled up pretty bad.
Now, I did find their strategy on Wooster. If you're Wooster, it's kind of like they were just giving him
threes.
Like they were letting him. They were goosing him to take those shots.
Raleigh was 1 for 7 from 3-point.
Yeah,
1 for 7. And on the season, I think the number is now he's 6 for 28 or 7 for 28. So do the math. That's the scout. Clearly, it's the scout. Let number 24 shoot.
Back off him. Don't overplay him.
Yeah. Now, Raleigh still has a lot of value, but it's tough. It's tough being a guard that can't make threes. Again, though, there's value. He drives to the basket well. He's a rugged defender. He's your type of guy that he'll get loose balls. He'll get those 50-50 balls. Raleigh still they still need him bad.
And now,
go ahead.
Now we're at the halfway point. 3-7.
Yeah.
5 home games, I believe, remaining and 5 road games left. Nebraska on the year is 3-2 at home in the Big Ten.
Okay. Now the question is, as people pointed out on our message boards, they're like you said, 3-7. Can they go 7-3 and get to 10
or
10?
6-4
and get to 9-11 and be on that bubble?
So it starts with this little West Coast trip. Can they get one win out there?
I think now hold on. I don't want to do this thing where we make Oregon into
they're ranked
the Bill Walton Bruins. I mean, yeah, they also lost by 20-some to UCLA last night. Check that score, by the way. Make sure I'm right.
UCLA is back on again.
Yeah. So Oregon, I mean, I don't do this thing where I say automatic loss to Oregon. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I don't think
UCLA won by 26 points.
Okay, so UCLA beat Oregon by 26 points last night. Nebraska beat UCLA. So, no, Oregon's not this machine right now. They have their share of rough spots too. So I haven't fully scouted Oregon, but no, it's a game. Nebraska, I think Nebraska would be – think about if they would beat Illinois and beat Oregon consecutively. You're almost kind of back on track.
You're back in.
Yeah, you're back on track.
Yeah, if you can just get anywhere near 10-10, 9-11, which is doable. I mean, 6-4 would be 9-11.
If Bryce Williams goes to Oregon and scores 27 again, now he was only 10 for 26 from the field against Illinois, but man, he hit some critical jumpers.
Well, then you have Northwestern and Penn State on the road. That's another. Those are 2
hard games.
They're hard, but you could get one of them. You could.
Yeah. God, I think a little differently than you about stuff like this. Why not 2 of them?
Well, because I know how hard it is to win on the road in the Big Ten. And very few teams other than Michigan State and Purdue and teams like that go and win 2 in a row on the road. It's hard.
I hope they don't think like that.
I don't. I'm just telling. I value the home court. Look what UCLA did at home to Oregon.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Nebraska's in kind of a code red, though. They got to steal some games on the road, Sean.
But Ohio State went into Penn State and won by 19 last night. Tonight we'll get
Sean. Say that again.
Ohio State won at Penn State by 19.
Why can't Nebraska do that?
They could if they shoot and defend. Tonight we'll get Indiana Purdue. That's your Friday night date.
That's good. That's
7
good.
o'clock on Fox.
Those as we've laid out ad nauseum. Those Friday night games are extraordinary.
We don't have a big social life.
Well, I'm 58 years old. I'm not going to the club tonight. Okay.
Well, I have practice with Carly, and I'd like to go to the Pius Norris game, but
big one.
It's I don't know if it's gonna be a packed gym, so I don't know if I want to mess with all that.
Yeah, you're getting old. You'd have to get there kind of early.
Yeah, and I mean it's a boys girls doubleheader, and both are highly ranked games.
Yeah, you have to get there early.
All right. Before we get to headline number 5, odds and ends, again, we're brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Again, they're there for you to help the loved ones in your life. They can provide companionship, compassionate support, daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, you name it, assistance with appointments or outings. Call them at 402-205-2233 to learn more about the services they can offer you. Thanks again to StayHome.Care as our title sponsor of HuskerOnline Headlines. But let's get to odds and ends. I was not there, but the dunk contest, the second annual Nebraska football player dunk contest, which has quickly unseated the Red Panda as the top halftime show. at Nebraska basketball games.
Yes. People are jacked up.
Like that's the best one they do.
It is by far.
I mean, would you rather watch this or like guys riding dirt bikes on the floor or like dogs jumping through hoops?
Do they ride dirt bikes?
There was like a bike show one.
Oh, come on, Sean. This is the
Remember the artist? She kind of was questionable. Like she wore like tight outfit. It was like I turned to the guy. I go, "Is this safe for work?" I mean, when she was there, and she has not been back. Maybe she's coming back, so I better watch out. But
what about the quick change artist? The quick costume change.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, Sean, they used to have her at Devaney all the time, and she changed outfits in a flash of the eye. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, you had the shim shams,
in the blink of an eye,
the cloggers. That
became controversial.
Lee Barfnick canceled that crew.
Yeah,
he wrote enough about it at the paper back then. It got a lot of
the dunks. I noticed you were very interested when I was talking to you on this morning. You asked me about Deshaun McCullough.
Hello, as you would say.
Oh yeah, hello. that was good. That looked good. That picture looked good. He did a over the head reverse.
How
dunk.
did Connor Shutt look to you?
Did an amazing dunk.
Well, he was an excellent high jumper in high school.
And are we going tight end here?
Yeah, tight end. He's related to the Turmans. His mom is Matt Turman's sister. So
serious ups.
Another
Sean.
relation to the Turman family in the program. And
he's a different, like Matt. I don't think Matt Turman can dunk like this.
Oh, he's a lot. He's 6'5" probably.
Yeah, Connor is.
Connor Shutt.
Yeah, that was an impressive dunk out of the gate. He did a behind the head dunk too, kind of like McCullough's. Harburg won with the dunk where he flipped it off the backboard and rammed it with one hand. I think it was one hand. Heinrich is a freak athlete. Heinrich, I'm telling you, I don't mind saying this. Matt Rhule will probably kill me for saying this, but there's probably no player in the program that excites me more going into 2025 than Heinrich Harburg. I think that could be an incredible picture at tight end. He's so athletic. Why? Just tell me what would stop him from being an excellent receiver.
Well, now that he wants to be one too, that's the other key.
He's got to be good.
And Dana has basically probably told him, "Hey, do you want to make money playing football?
Hey, why don't you watch number 44 for Penn State and tell me why you can't maybe be like that?" Heinrich is fast. I mean, he's big. He's got the catch radius. You know what else Heinrich has? Understands the offense. You love Ty Warren. I know you do. Ty Warren was a quarterback in high school. Okay. Understands the offense from that perspective. Yeah. I think you're looking at that with Heinrich.
If Harburg got to a point where he could earn a combine invite, he would test off the charts.
Exactly.
And he's got to get to that point.
And I liked the way he looked in the Pinstripe Bowl. I thought that picture was really good. He looked natural out there.
And Fedoni, gone now, is having a great week of practice at the Senior Bowl.
Are you getting any kickback from Fedoni for your positive?
No, but I read one report from some draft expert that Thomas Fedoni has earned a lot of money this week in Mobile.
Kidding.
Yep. Ty Robinson's had a good week. Tommy Hill has kind of.
I saw some film.
He went against that Illinois receiver again. I mean, that's kind of where
Bryant.
That's kind of where it all started for him.
Pat Bryant.
And I bet Pat Bryant's like, "I'm gonna do this to you again, fool." And well, the opening drive of that game, I believe, wasn't that Pat Bryant?
I think it was Patrick Bryant. Yeah.
They had no answer, but yeah. So Tommy Hill not having, at least in practice, a great week. So,
hey, I will tell you this about Fedoni. I've watched some of that film. He does look good, and I'm not. I don't want to say skeptical. He's got some stuff to prove.
All the experts said I was expecting kind of a more stiffer looking guy, and he's been way more fluid than any of the people out there thought he was going to be.
Okay, that's important.
So it makes you just wonder, like, what was the deal here?
I don't know what the deal was here. He wasn't bad here. I would say he was good here, but we thought maybe it would be great, right? It was good. He was good.
The reality is when the teams aren't very good, it's hard to maximize the players. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, Luke McCaffrey, Cam Jurgens, Cam Taylor-Britt, Wan'Dale Robinson. You go down the line of guys they've had since Pelini was here, like the struggling years they've had. there's been NFL talented level guys, but when the teams aren't very good, it's hard for that to showcase.
It is. And then sometimes you just mess them up. You just don't use them you don't use them the right way.
Yeah, the monster just kind of eats you as a coach. It's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
the pressure to win here and what you got to do. But so Senior Bowl, and we've already. I wanted to hit on Spindler, but we already kind of hit on that. That's something to watch this weekend. Then finally, the ACC has a new TV agreement with Notre Dame that could potentially extend it out to 2036.
I don't know what to make of that.
It's hard to know what to make of that, what that means for Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, particularly those three. If they're locked in or if there's a way out for them, because obviously they want it out and they want a piece of the SEC or the Big Ten, but they have an opportunity now to pretty much be locked in to the grant of rights until 2036.
Is it foolhardy to think that this current set of conferences would stay this way for a prolonged period of time, just the way it is right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's complicated is ACC is, they're with ESPN, so is the SEC. So the SEC or the ESPN doesn't want to lose those teams out of their network so they have to figure out a way to make it right if it goes south, because they don't want to lose those teams to Fox,
Right.
to NBC, to CBS, because that's ratings points that you're moving over to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lost Florida State, Notre Dame, Clemson, North Carolina, those teams
To who?
to the Big Ten or something,
the SEC,
but if the SEC lost or ESPN lost those teams, and they all went to the Big Ten,
that's trouble.
It flips the portfolio.
Yeah,
and right now it's pretty equal. I mean, the SEC has an edge right now in terms of ratings across the board, I would say, based on what we saw this year. But the Big Ten is in a great position.
They are. In this current setup, I kind of like that. The ACC's probably the one that's most flawed, with Cal and Stanford, which makes no sense. When you see on the ticker that Cal beat Clemson in ACC basketball, it doesn't make any sense to me. But the way it's configured right now, I kind of like. I wish it would stay this way for a while.
Yeah, there's even some talk about, just some speculation that the SEC and the Big Ten could agree to like a scheduling partnership, like when they meet and do all these meetings, and
that'd be postseason or season
in the season.
Really?
So, and then it would make all the non-conference crossover matchups that are Power 4 and Power 4 exclusively SEC Big Ten. And so you would play, I don't know what you'd play. You'd play 8 or 9 conference games or 9 conference games plus 1 SEC game.
Jeez.
And then you'd have 2 kind of group of 5 games.
That'd be tough.
But
think about playing as a Big Ten team. And by the way, you're playing Auburn too,
But the money that
Auburn's not even a hard one. I just picked Auburn because it's just a mid-level.
The way it all would happen, though, is if you have guaranteed playoff spots. Like, I think people would be okay playing these games if they knew your SEC and Big Ten had 4 guaranteed playoff spots, and you were only judged with your teams, and you'd have to worry about stacking Alabama's resume against SMU,
right?
Like
Boise.
It's really complicated. So I think if we get to a point with 4 auto bids, that opens the door for those types of games, which, by the way, generate tons of television ratings.
This playoff was, I don't know if you agree with me or not. It was an eye opener to me, this first iteration of the college football playoff, and Ohio State's march to the title. It told me that you have to be a monster to do it. You can't. Boise State's not going to beat in succession Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame. Boise State's not going to do that. SMU's not going to.
Arizona State's not going
to do that. You got to be one of the monsters to do that. If I were Matt Rhule, I'd be thinking about that all the time. If we're ultimately going to win the big prize, be national champions, this is what we're going to have to do, guys. We're going to have to go on a march through the best of the best blue bloods
in different weather conditions. And
right. Do you know how difficult that is to do? I mean, what Ohio State did was remarkable. If I were an Ohio State fan, I'd be incredibly proud that we're the first representative of this college football playoff, and look what we did.
Think about the trophy case they brought home: a home playoff win, a Rose Bowl trophy,
Yeah.
a Cotton Bowl trophy,
Yeah.
and a national championship
It's
trophy
remarkable.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that stage when all those trophies, like it would take, some schools never could win that many trophies in their history.
They did that after a crushing loss to Michigan, which you remember well. We were coming back from Iowa, right? When that game was on in your truck, you had it on, God bless you. And I was watching, I was incredulous as I watched Ohio State lose to Michigan. I was incredulous.
Then
And I knew there went our trip to a warm bowl. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then Ohio State, somehow Ryan Day got his guys together, rallied them. And that game against Tennessee, I'll always remember, the first round game where they dominated Tennessee. Tennessee fans in the stands, like thousands of them in Ohio Stadium. And I thought, man, the Buckeyes look like the team to beat. And that turned out to be the case.
And it all worked out. Honestly, I think the Pinstripe Bowl was the right bowl for Nebraska.
Worked out great.
I mean, a great opponent to play. It matched up well.
Yeah, and it was a great bowl. I mean, I think Matt Rhule would tell you that was a great experience.
If it wasn't raining, it would have been perfect. But yeah, the Yankees, in the way they ran that, it was high level.
Yeah, they gave the manager for the Yankees gave Rhule his office for when he needed it. I thought that was fun. I was listening to the tape again, Rhule's press conference, and he mentioned that. Yeah, I'm in the Yankees manager's office. That's where I'm conducting business. It's awesome.
All right. Well,
who's the Yankee manager, by the way?
God, now.
It's Boone.
Aaron Boone.
Aaron Boone. Yeah. He was in Aaron Boone's office. Sweet.
Well, we got a big week of basketball Sunday
at Oregon, 6:30 p.m.
No football, but the Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl. The East-West game was played
Thursday. Nash had at least one good pass rush play.
Okay. So Nash played.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. Okay. So say again, the Shrine Bowls wins Sunday, Saturday?
No, the Senior Bowl.
In
Lad Peebles Stadium in Mobile is on Saturday.
Okay. Saturday. Oh, a lot to think about.
Bust out that. I went there once. I like Lad
Peebles Stadium
in Mobile. It was a beautiful setup out there, but
we would consider going back there, right?
Maybe. Yeah. It's just hard to know. Like, this actually would have been a year to go when there's 3 Huskers, but a lot of times there's just one.
All right. This might have been a good year to go.
All right. Well, make sure you log on to Husker Online. Follow us for all the great coverage. Steve Sipple and I will have coverage of Matt Rhule's press conference as well on Saturday. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan. Have a great weekend, everybody.